concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, guys? Y'all ready? Y'all ready for it? Here it comes. Here it comes. Boom. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and y'all are gonna learn something today. How long has it been? A while since I've been here. It has. It has. I was out for. Well, it was really only like a week I missed, but people were reaching out to me. Are you done streaming? Are you ever gonna stream again? I'm like, I only missed a week, you guys. But I'm back, and it's time for our weekly Q&A stream. I'm so glad to be here. I got to tell you something. I'm a little out of practice. I'm feeling that song always helps get me in the groove, though. In case you're new here, and by the way, if you are new here, if it's your first time seeing the stream, say hello in the chat. Say hello in the chat. If it's your first time catching my stream live, we're going to do some Q&A. You guys are going to ask questions. I'm going to answer the questions. And, we're just going to be here for about 2 hours hanging out. Let me give you a quick look at what I got going on here, just so you understand the deal. Hypermotor, that was Do You Want to Follow by Velveteen. Any ideas for getting a sheared bolt off budget FPV? You can use a thing called an EZ out or fluted screw extractor. That's what you want, budget FPV. And that's it. You guys got the gist. Right here is the chat. You guys ask questions in the chat. Risky Biscuits. Oh, Risky Biscuits. I met him. He's from Chattanooga. He says he's moist. That is not the reaction I was hoping to evoke from you, Risky Biscuits, but thank you very much for your passion. Yeah, you guys ask questions here in the chat. I answer the questions, and that's basically what we do. The questions come by so fast and furious, though, that Ken Heron dropping in. Ken Heron and I are going to do a collab eventually. Ken's busy in October, but sometime in November, I hope Ken Heron and I get to do a collab. He's going to maybe come out to my house. We'll do something together. Thank you for the donation, Ken. And as Ken has just demonstrated, if you want to get your message, see, these go by so fast and furious. If you want to get your message called out here in the super chat, hit that. I don't have the $sign. Where'd my $sign go? Maybe they finally figured out that I can't donate to my own stream. There's a $sign right here. You hit that $sign, you throw a couple bucks, your question gets pulled out, and I will make sure to answer it. And also, hello, Chamer, Tamir, OCDFPV, Haschenberg, Jeffrey Dev. These wonderful people over here in the Discord window are my patrons. I have a Discord server just for patrons, and they can ask questions and chat with me during there as well. And that's it. That's basically it. Thank you, King Sloth, for 20 kroner, Norwegian kroner, yeah. Pardon me. Swallowed some spit there. Ooh, Hypermotor wants to know if Ken Heron asked the FAA about YouTube 107 yet. I don't know what that question means, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued, and I want to know what a YouTube 107 is and so forth. 2 live streams running at the same time? No. Quadflyer X, why do you think I have 2 live streams at the same time? Have I made a mistake in my scheduling of my live streams? Hold on a second. I shouldn't have 2 live. Hold on. I got to check this out. No. Live. Hang on a second. Oh my God. How did that happen? No. Whoa. So, oops. We got to get rid of that. I don't know how that happened. Oh, wow. Okay, hang on a second, guys. I got to fix this. Hold on. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Hi. I'm not in this stream. Go to the 13th stream. Okay, that was a mistake. Stop streaming. I'm going to kill that one. I hope I don't kill... Oh, here we go. Okay, I don't know what was going on there. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Are we here? You guys here? Still here? We all still here on the 13th stream? Have I killed that one too? Looks like it's still working. No, there will be a stream on the 14th. There we go. Okay, I'm here to still be live. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Oh, like I have an idea what happened, but oops. Welcome back. I screwed around with my stream settings to let Aaron Ciotti guest host one of my streams, and yeah. No. We're still here. Okay, let's pick up where we left off. Go to the 13th. Alex is my producer, in case you don't know. Alex is over there in the production booth. He is the one who sets up the streams. Alex has really messed up today. Alex doesn't exist. Okay, let's get back on track. Before I start answering questions, I like to do a little news of the day. And what I want you guys to look at today, what I want to throw you... Now, don't go there yet. But... news of the day is that the TBS Fusion hardware upgrade has started trickling out to reviewers. It will not be available to the public. I'm hearing around 2020, but some reviewers, including this guy here, this is LiveU FPV. He is awesome. He does a lot of like electronics repair. He does some freestyle flying too. He's a good pilot, but what he's done is he has released some tests of the new upgraded hardware of the TBS Fusion versus the Rapidfire, and unlike his previous test, he put the same freaking antennas on both of them, so thank goodness for that. Looks like he's got matching antennas. That's kind of needed, and you guys should check that out after the stream is over. Go run on or watch 2 streams at once. I don't care. Because the TBS Fusion, when I tested the TBS Fusion against the Rapidfire, it didn't do as well. And I kind of didn't surprise me. And people said, oh, firmware updates are coming. It'll get better. And I'm like, firmware updates can only do so much. Hardware updates improve the sensitivity of the module is how you get really better performance. And that's how one of the ways that Rapidfire gets its performance. And one of the things that's cool about the TBS Fusion module is it actually just separates into two parts. The front part with the joystick and the screen, and the back part with the actual RF hardware in it. So TBS is going to be able to update the hardware, or potentially like maybe release, I don't know, a 2.4 gig version or something. But TBS can update the hardware, and they're going to release a new, updated, more sensitive, better performing RF module. If you already bought Fusion, don't feel bad. The upgrade is only going to cost $10, and the price of Fusion will go up by $10. So you won't have lost anything. If you bought Fusion already, you won't have lost anything. And this is exciting because updated hardware is how you get better performance. And at least in LiveU's test, it is looking like maybe it performs just as well. But LiveU did something else that's pretty cool, and I'm going to show you this photo. I hope that he makes a video about this, because, and I'm teasing this here, and I'm giving him 100% of the credit. It's 100% of the credit, because he has opened up. This on the right is a TBS Fusion. This on the left is a Rapidfire, and this in the center, I don't know exactly what it is, but it looks like just a diversity ground station. What do you have a close look at those for me, okay? Do you notice anything about those? Do you notice that they are almost identical? Almost identical. I see a few small differences, but if you just look at the components, like the layout is almost identical between them. Not quite. There's some differences here in the... I don't know what these differences are. But LiveU points out that these guys are all using basically the same sort of reference design for their RF module. And so... I don't know. What do you think about that? Very interesting. I pointed out to LiveU that there probably are some differences that affect performance that are not visible just from a casual looking at the board design and the board layout. Like, for example, I know that Immersion RC has done some things to impedance match the SMA connector to the PCB and improve sensitivity slightly that way. And maybe TBS is doing some of those same things. But his point was that, like, when it comes to the RF hardware, nobody's reinventing the wheel here. Not even TBS, who is takes a lot of credit for being very original and innovative. TBS relies on these reference designs just like anybody else does. But the real question is, I can't wait to get my hands on a TBS Fusion updated hardware so I can do a side-by-side test. The other thing that came out of this test that was very interesting was that the two Rapidfires did not perform the same. And that points out some of the difficulty of doing this kind of testing, because there are always variances in the quality of the hardware coming off the line. And depending on how much work the manufacturer wants to put into it, those variances can be reduced. But if you take 100 Rapidfires or 100 Fusions and you test them for sensitivity, some of them will do better and some will do worse. And it's one of the challenges of doing this kind of testing is that it's the same is true for the antennas, right? You take 100 antennas, some will be slightly better, some will be slightly worse. One of the things I try to do is I test my antennas on the Owl RC SWR meter to try and make sure that the antennas have a similar SWR curve and try and reduce the ability of the antenna to throw off the results. But at the end of the day, I still do the testing. But there's always a chance that I will have, like, luckily gotten the best Rapidfire off the line and unluckily gotten the worst Fusion off the line. And unless I were to test 30 or 50 or 100 of them, which obviously is just not feasible to do, there's no way to accommodate for that. I don't know. It's one of the reasons, and I promise I'm going to move on from this topic in 1 second, and we will get to some questions. But it's one of the reasons why I hesitated so long before I said Rapidfire's the best. It took me almost a year of hedging my bets. And the reason I finally have started saying Rapidfire is the best is not because Rapidfire won just one test, but because Rapidfire has consistently won so many tests, not just by me, but by lots of other people, and just pros run Rapidfire and, just anecdotally feel it's the best. It tells me that everybody didn't get lucky and just get a good Rapidfire off the bin. It takes a while. It takes a lot of testing before you can come to a conclusion like that. And if a year from now Fusion is just winning every test, then we could say consistently that it's consistently the best and that nobody just got lucky and got a good one. Okay. Fatshark Byte Frost. That's coming out. Fatshark way faster than I thought they would, by the way. Oh, it's even still in stock. You could still oh. GetFPV website has been screwing up on me. The search box has been appearing and won't go away. No, it won't go away. There we go. Fatshark Byte Frost is about. It's $400 and you can try it. I have one on the way. Fatshark is sending me one, by the way. So, and there are some tests out already of people using it, and you can see how it compares to DJI and to analog. It's very exciting. I feel like, much like Fatshark said, let's see if we can find a Fatshark Byte Frost video to put up while I'm talking. Byte Frost Mark Kokio. Yeah, this is the one. This guy... Didn't this guy... Is this the same guy who used to be on Final Glides videos? I think he used to be in Final Glides videos way back when. But he's got some video up, and with full respect to Mark, I hope he won't mind if I just play his video in the background, since I haven't gotten mine yet. They've sent it to me, but I haven't gotten it. Byte Frost looks way better than analog. Way better than analog. And how it compares to DJI is looking really interesting, because you can see that when Byte Frost starts to break up, it gets these little speckles across the screen. That's what we're looking at now is Byte Frost. It gets these speckles across the screen, whereas DJI degrades kind of... Now, this is analog. DJI degrades kind of like a YouTube video, right? Just kind of gets blockier and blockier, whereas Byte Frost gets the speckles. It's more of an analog style breakup. There's analog. Ugh. Oh my God, can you believe we ever flew like that? Woo. Oh, yes. So it's very interesting. Byte Frost is operating about 450 milliwatts, whereas DJI is at 800 milliwatts. So if Byte Frost were to get up to 450 milliwatt or 800 milliwatts, I'd be interested to see how it would do. Another thing that I think people are overlooking about Byte Frost is that Byte Frost is $400, so it's cheaper than DJI if you already have goggles with an HDMI input. But if you don't, then you're buying a $500 set of goggles, and the price of the Byte Frost actually is not that much cheaper. I guess if you're outfitting a fleet, then Byte Frost is cheaper to get into on each of the quads. But DJI set a really high bar, I guess, is the takeaway. HZQ says Byte Frost FPS seems lower. The DJI, the goggles are at 120 FPS. I think the DVR records at 60. Anyway, looking forward to getting Byte Frost and testing it out. But the other thing about Byte Frost is I have one guy who reached out to me and said my SkyZone EV020 goggles don't work with Byte Frost. He bought Byte Frost expecting to use it with the HDMI input on his SkyZone goggles, and it doesn't work. And he reached out to Fatshark, and they said, well, it's still in... Fatshark is kind of like hedging their bets with this. They're like, well, we're selling it, but it's still in beta. Which, to be fair, a lot of manufacturers do that and just don't tell you. But at least Fatshark is being honest that the product is... They're saying, look, don't buy this unless you want to be a beta tester. So at least they're being honest about it. But they said, sorry, I guess it doesn't work with your SkyZones. We'll try to get on that, I guess. If you don't have Fatshark goggles, you should check before you buy Byte Frost to be 100% sure it's going to work with them. Anyway. Okay, so there's your little news of the day. News of the day. Let's get to the questions. Oh, Michael Olson, is my stream... Dang it, guys. Is my stream description not accurate? Yeah, I copied the stream. Let me just, yeah, here we go. Boom, boom, boom. I am not on a plane during this stream. Wow. lots of little. There we go. I fixed that. You can't. Joe Stand Up PV. What do you mean you can't use it with HDOs? The DJI system you can't use with HDOs. That is true. Risky Biscuits want to know, am I primarily flying the DJI system these days, or do I still primarily fly my analog quads? That's a tough one. Risky Biscuits, I gotta tell you, the DJI system is so nice to fly. I really am I'm annoyed at how much it spoils me, because it's so tempting to just say the hell with analog. Zoe FPV took the jump, and she's just like, bye-bye analog, I'll miss you micros. I'm like, whoa, Zoe, take it easy. I don't see myself making that move because, number one, just as a reviewer and I work for you guys, and that doesn't mean I do everything you want me to do. Sorry, KISS fans. There are people out there who are like, I mean, people have said this. You say you work for us. Why won't you do more KISS stuff? And I'm like, well, I work for you, but also I have to do the stuff I'm most interested in. So, but analog, I mean, I could never just give up analog, because 85%, I don't know what the percentage, most people still use analog, and I need to be able to work for that content. But if I were only working for myself and I had all the money in the world, I would just go DJI and never look back. I mean, maybe Byte Frost is going to come along and be like, oh, well, maybe that. But as of like today, the experience of flying it is so good. And here's the thing I didn't expect. The experience of building it is so good. It's so freaking easy. You just plug into the flight controller, plug into the air unit, and you're done. Okay, you have to solder up the motors. It's so much faster to build a DJI quad if you have a flight controller that works with it. But here's what I mean by that. So I haven't switched, Risky Biscuits, but it's not that it's not tempting. Check it out, guys. This is a new page I've added to my website, fpvknowitall.com, and there are flight controllers being made specifically for the DJI system that basically are just plug and play with the air unit. So that means that if you're using the DJI controller, your receiver, your video transmitter, and your camera just plug right into your flight controller, and there's no soldering. It's so freaking easy to build these things. It's very tempting. So I am not primarily flying the DJI unit, still flying analog. But if I were only flying for myself, and I had all the money in the world, I would just go DJI and never look back. Maybe for micros I'd look back. Recommended micro FPV cam for under $20. I'm sorry, Sandra. I'm sure I'm not saying your name right. The one I always recommend, Sandra, is the Foxeer Aero Micro. However, Foxeer has a new camera out, the Foxeer Razor, which I haven't tested yet, but I want to look into it. The Foxeer Razor is a CMOS camera for $20, under $20, and it looks really good. It may replace the Foxeer Aero as my recommended budget camera, but I haven't tested it yet. So I'd be looking at the Foxeer Aero or the Foxeer Razor. Blow Smoke, I see you now, buddy. Blow Smoke, I see you. You were probably just in the wrong live stream. Sorry about that. That was my bad. Mike Venable, is there a spec sheet I can look at to see what motors, props, and batteries work best for 5-inch? Mike, there's no general spec sheet, but if you check my website, I have some fpvknowitall.com. I have recommended motors and stuff, motors and props. The other thing you can do is there's a website, rotorbuilds.com, and they have other people's builds that they've done, and you could just pick one of those and follow along. Matthew Archibald, yes, I do use GPS sometimes on my quads. The big advantage of GPS to me is, number one, you have a speedometer built in. That's super cool. So you can know how fast you're going without a radar gun. That's kind of nice. And you can set up GPS rescue. It's not quite as good as a full return to home, but yeah, it's very nice. I don't put it on all my builds, but let's see here. Thomas Bird wants to know what Pololu regulator is best for DJI. A 9-volt 2-amp would be fine. A 12-volt 1.5 amp, that's about where I would go. Volvox 427 says, please don't sell out to DJI. Not everyone can afford a $1,000 setup. I know, Volvox. I know. And that's why I said, if like it were just me and I weren't. But obviously, I'm not going to just be like, forget analog. I would lose all my viewers. You guys would just leave and go watch somebody else's channel because lots of people can't afford $1,000 for DJI. I haven't and I won't forget about everybody who is on a tight budget. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. D-Pilot wants to know, can you make a video on building a budget quad? Yes, in fact, I already did. It's time for me to update it. But it's still pretty D-Pilot. This is my build series. You can build this quad for about $240 roughly. That's roughly how much it costs. To me, that's budget. Now you can find people out there doing a $99 quad build. I don't recommend that. I feel like I'll put a link to this here in the spreadsheet. Here, no, not the spreadsheet. Here, no, there you go. I don't recommend a $99 build unless you just absolutely cannot afford more. A $99 build is going to disappoint you very quickly. I mean, if that's what you got to do to get flying, then so be it. But I picked what I thought were the cheapest components that wouldn't disappoint you too much. It comes in around $220, $240, and that's my suggestion for budget. Okay. I've answered a bunch of questions in the regular chat. Matthew Archibald, I use the Race Day Quads Micro GPS. That's the one I use. It doesn't have a compass, but I don't think you really need a compass. Let's get the super chats out of the way. Thank you to everybody who's donating in the super chat. You can hit that $sign right down here if you want to have your question called out. And then, 10 or 15 minutes later, I'll get around to it. So, yeah. Ken Heron, thanks for $5. King Sloth, thanks for 20 Norwegian kroner. Mitchell Han, thank you for 20 New Zealand dollars. I pay for Netflix and never watch it. Always watch you and don't pay for it. Doesn't seem right. Thank you, Mitchell Han. That's very kind of you. The sheep are still asleep. Sleestack. And by the way, New Zealand, I'm not just making a sheep joke. You know the joke I'm talking about. New Zealand, two major products of New Zealand are great FPV pilots, sheep, and apples. Sleestack, thanks for $5. How do you travel with lipos? I want to travel from AZ to Atlanta. I just don't feel safe. What are the current rules? Sleestack, I have a video about traveling with lipos on my channel. Hang on. I'm going to tell you the answer. I'm not just going to paste you to the video. However, you're traveling from AZ. You mean, is that Arizona? If that's within the U.S., then you're good. Let me just hit you with this link, Sleestack. The short version is that the lipos need to be under 100 watt hours each, which all of your typical FPV lipos are under 100 watt hours. They're typically like 22 or 25 watt hours. Within the U.S., there's no limit on the number of lipos you can have. I have literally traveled with a giant bag of 30 lipos. They need to be under 100 watt hours, and that's basically it. That you have to carry them on with you. You cannot check them. They don't want to fire in the baggage compartment. They want to fire in the passenger cabin. Okay. But that's the gist of it. If you have lipos over 100 watt hours, things get more complicated. And what I would recommend you do is, for whatever airline you are flying on, go to their website, find the section where they talk about lithium batteries and print it out in case anybody gives you trouble, but they probably won't. Usually I go straight through, and sometimes they swab them, but usually it's no big deal. Take a Flight FPV says no tools. That's actually not true, at least within the U.S. Take a Flight FPV, you're allowed hand tools under 7 inches in length. So all of my screwdrivers, all of my hex drivers, even my diagonal cutters have been fine as long as they're under 7 inches in length. Again, I would just check the tools if you have the option, but if you need to carry them on, you can. Obviously, no box cutters, no knives, no folding knives, none of that stuff. But screwdrivers, fine. Under 7 inches, you're fine. Yeah, Take a Flight says they took my screwdrivers. Yeah, it's a gamble on that one, Take a Flight. I've gotten through with screwdrivers before, but I usually check them just because I don't want to take a risk on losing all my tools. So, Sean Heddle, thank you for $1.83 Canadian. Arctiplex, thanks for $5. What do you recommend for Part 107 training? Stinger Swarm mentioned he may do classes. Have you thought of teaching it? Arctiplex, I there are so many great 107 courses out there already by people who do it so freaking good. I would rather focus my energy on the places where I'm better than everyone else. That way, everybody gets maximum benefit. If there's already someone out there doing something awesome, then I'm just gonna let them be awesome, and you guys can go support them rather than me try and like be better than them. So like if Stingy is a great instructor. If he wants to make a 107 video, he's gonna do so good at it. I would just let him do it. Sean Hiddle, you're good, man. So typically Canadian. Sean is apologizing for the size of his donation. Thank you, Sean. You're good, man. Don't worry about it. Sunny FPV, thanks for $5. Oh, so what do I recommend for 107 training? I got to tell you guys, when I studied for my 107, the thing that I got the most out of was just getting the 107 book, a study guide, because I like to just read and sit and ingest. If I'm watching a video, my eyes kind of glaze over and I stop listening. There are some advantages to some of the video training courses because some people will learn better from someone telling them the info, but I just like to read the section and then look at the sample questions. That's how I learn best. Sunny FPV, thanks for $5. My $99 build's 3 years old and outdated everything, but I love how it flies. If you've got a $99 build that's 3 years old, Sunny FPV, you're doing very, very well. I'm super happy for you. I always hesitate to recommend the $99 builds because like the cheaper you get, the more likely you're just going to get a bad piece of equipment. It's going to break and give you trouble. And I just don't like people to have a bad experience. If you built a $99 build and you're still happy with it 3 years later, kudos. I just worry that too many people wouldn't have that experience. Caney McStotts, thanks for $10. Could you let me know your thoughts on my first build? Flywoo, Mr. Croc, DJI FPV frame. How's the Mr. Croc doing? That's one of the first DJI-focused frames out there. Some of those frames I've heard troubles with, like broken arms. DJI FPV. T-Motor F60 Pro, great choice for a first motor. I love it. T5150 props. Those 5150 props might be a little bit aggressive, but the motors can handle it. You'll just need to be careful on the batteries. Yeah, that sounds like a great first build, Caney. Julian S., Part 107 is required in the U.S. for commercial drone flights. And that means basically anybody who is making money has to have a 107. When they fly. That's the short version of it. The other thing about 107 is that if you have a 107, you can get some special compensation to do things that you're not otherwise allowed to do. So some people get a 107 so they can get these certain waivers to do things that they wouldn't otherwise be allowed to do. Thank you, Papa Doc, for $2. Towerich, thanks for $5 Canadian. New to FPV and I'm drowning in info. What tiny micro should I get to learn on and what goggles? Towerich, if you're looking for a first micro, I highly recommend the Emax Tiny Hawk RTF kit. It comes with a battery charger, comes with goggles, and a Tiny Hawk and a controller. You will quickly outgrow the controller, and you probably will outgrow the goggles. But here's the thing. The controller, you're going to throw in the trash in a year or 6 months. The Tiny Hawk, you'll be flying forever. It's a great little quad. You'll never, even if you upgrade to a 5-inch, you'll still enjoy the Tiny Hawk. And that's why this is such a solid recommendation. The goggles will be useful as spectator goggles. So I feel like, and the Tiny Hawk kit is about $165. It is just the best way if you're looking to get into the hobby for the least money possible and have a good time. I feel like it's no question. Imitaz Ahmed Siddiq, my quad is drifting backwards. Please help. Make sure your channels are centered in the receiver tab in Betaflight. Make sure your channels are at 1500, and if they're not, use the sub trim function in your transmitter to center them at 1500. All right, I took questions in the regular chat. I took questions in the super chat. Let's not forget the patrons over in the Discord. Let's make a spin through the Discord and see what's going on over there. Hello, patrons. Me, myself, and I in the Discord. I bought the RC & Power GT2 1506. Are the GemFan 3052 too aggressive on 4S? Me, myself, and I, my gut feel, wait, I need to know the KV. You can't answer that question without the KV. Me, myself, and I. What's the KV? OCDFPV asks, if I upgrade to Betaflight 4.1, do I need to copy and paste anything from the CLI? OCDFPV, when you upgrade to Betaflight 4.1, do not copy your 4.0 command line and just dump it in. What I actually... Have I still got this file up? Hang on. I actually am working on a video. Yeah, I do. I'm working on a video right now. I haven't posted it yet, but basically, if you do a diff all and go through your 4.0 diff, you can copy in most of this stuff. Like this is, the serial lines are your ports tabs. This aux line, those are, pardon me, those are your aux modes. All of this stuff can be copied in, but when you get to the master section, here's where you get in trouble. There's stuff in here that you need to get rid of. I think I already deleted it. Can I Control Z that? No. Darn. Where's one I haven't edited? Profile. Hang on. Profile. 1 second. There we go. When you get to the master section, see this gyro stuff? Gyro hardware? This stuff, you got to get rid of. That stuff is different in 4.1, and you got to get rid of it. These set dynamic notch, that stuff's got to go. All the filter related stuff, you could, if you're capable of recognizing it and you get rid of it, you can paste. I would get rid of RC smoothing and RC interpolation. That stuff has changed, maybe. I don't know for a fact, but like I feel confident that I could go through this and keep just the stuff I knew I wanted to keep. Like I would copy in my serial and my aux modes, my fail-safe settings. That stuff I feel safe copying in. What you could do is if you leave out master and you leave out profile, I think you probably will be safe to paste the rest of the stuff in. If you were to leave out master and leave out profile, you certainly could like paste in your OSD settings if you wanted to get more granular. So that's how I would transfer over to Betaflight 4.1. And yeah, Livestream chat. There we go. So then the other question you might be asking is, if you're doing RPM filtering, you used to have to paste in code snippets in the CLI. You don't have to do that anymore. I have a video about setting up RPM filtering. It's just as simple as ticking a box. So that's easy. Me, Myself, and I has the RC Empowered GT2 1506 motors with the 4000 kV. So I'm still learning about 3-inch. I'm still dialing in my recommendations for 3-inch, but I can tell you that I'm using the 1507 4100 kV motors on 4S for my 3-inch build, and that's on the edge of, that's a high kV for 3-inch. So if you're a little bit worried about the props being too aggressive, you might need to like use a throttle curve. I'm going to check with Aaron Ciotti. Ciotti is in the... Let me ping Ciotti. Hang on. 3058. Like a 3052 is getting kind of aggressive. Let's see if Ciotti chimes in. Oh, 4300 kV. Sander in the Discord asks, looking to upgrade my 6S motors on my racing quads to more premium motors. I've been flying the Emax Eco. What do you recommend as an upgrade for 6S? So the Emax Eco is a great motor in the like $12 to $13 to $14, which is a wonderful price range for motors. When you get down into the $9 price range for motors, you make a lot of compromises. You can still fly them and get decent results, but you make a lot of compromises in terms of smoothness and durability. Those motors can fly okay on day 1, but on day 50 they tend to be pretty beat up, whereas more expensive motors tend to stay good longer. You smash any motor into a concrete wall and you're going to destroy it, though. So, I mean, at the end of the day. What I would suggest if you're in the $14 price range and you're looking to upgrade, if you step up to the $18 to $20 price range, maybe $22 price range, you can get some pretty solid motors. The iFlight Zing motors are one of my favorites in that price range. They have 2306, they have 2207, they have 2208. Those are good motors to look at. And once you get into like the $26, $27 price range, at that point, those motors, I think that's a real incremental improvement compared to like the $22, $23 motors. If you're in the $26, $27, those are real top of the line motors, but you got to have to want them, because at the end of the day, you're still going to smash them into a brick wall and destroy them, and you're going to be out $27. In that higher price range, I have a 2208, the JB 2208 motor that I think is really good. Obviously, I helped spec it and develop it. You can get that from Get FPV. The T motor F60 is a fantastic motor in that price range. Those are some things to think about. B Gamble says DYS Samgook for $10 can't go wrong, except DYS went out of business. Holy crap. Did you guys see this on Facebook? DYS just made a public statement that they can't pay their debtors or their employees and they're out of business. So if you like Samgook motors, buy them up now because they ain't coming back. How about that? Ouch. Burden85 says, will a 12 volt, 2.2 volt amp regulator be too much for DJI? Burden, that's not how regulators work. The amp rating on a regulator is how much it is rated to provide. Like, for example, let's think about your faucet at home, okay? And you open up the spigot, okay? And your faucet is pumping water, or your garden hose is pumping water. You picturing it with me? Let's say that when you crank that faucet all the way open, or the spigot all the way open, it pumps 5 gallons per minute. Okay? So that's a 5 amp regulator. But let's say you're just trying to take a little sip, and you don't want water all over your face. So you just crack the spigot, and now it's pumping a half a gallon per minute, and you just take a sip. The amp rating on a regulator is how much it is rated to provide, but it is the load that determines how much will actually be pulled, how open the spigot is. You follow? So when you plug that air unit into the regulator, the air unit's going to pull up to about 10 watts. And based on the voltage, we could calculate the amp. So if it's pulling 10 watts, at 12 volts, it'll be 10 divided by 12, just a little bit less than 1 amp. Okay? So if you've got a 12 volt, 2.2 amp regulator, there's no such thing as too big of a regulator. The regulator, if you had a 10 amp rated regulator, you could still run the air unit off of it. It would be big and heavy, and you'd be wasting weight and size, but it wouldn't like push too many amps into the air unit and destroy it. That's not how it works. Hang on one second. I'm looking for a resource to answer a question. Where is it? Here it is. Flightless in the Discord asks, do you have any recommendations for how to solder? I have trouble getting my joints to look good. You guys, I recently went looking for some how to solder videos, and I found this. I'm going to let the... Oh my gosh. Hang on. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's the 60s. Or the 70s, or whenever this was made. This is an old video, and you might initially be turned off by the fact that it looks like it's, from your grandpa's days. But this is such a good freaking tutorial. And I got to tell you, the information in here is so direct and to the point. Once we get past this cheesy intro. The information is so direct and to the point and simple in a way that information today often isn't. I'm as guilty of this as anybody. If you want to learn how to solder, I highly recommend that you check out these videos. It's a little slow for today's audience, but there's so much good info in here that people are going to overlook, and I just really dig it and really recommend it. I would highly recommend this whole playlist to anybody who's looking to learn how to solder. There are a few things in here that are not going to apply to you. Like they're going to describe equipment you don't have or joints you're not going to do. But at the end of the day, if you watch these whole videos, you will become a really, really good solderer. So, Betty Musics wants to know how to set the milliwatts of my XM receiver higher. It doesn't work like that. It's not adjustable, Betty. Stop spamming the chat, Betty Musics. You can't do that, and don't ask the same question. Stop. Okay, you're gone. You're gone. You're gone. Time out. Jesus Christ. That's the same question 50 times. Now I feel bad that I answered your question. I'm rewarding you for spamming the chat. He's in timeout. Bismar in the Discord says 4,000 kV is great for a GemFan 3028 prop, but the prop's extremely fragile. For me, the 3052 prop is too fast. Yeah, that's the thing. The motor, the 4,300 kV motor may be able to handle the 3052 prop, but if you're trying to do any precision flying, that 3052 prop is going to just have no control. You're just going to be all or nothing on the prop. Bismarck suggests the HQ 3030 is a good middle ground, but he still likes the GemFan 3028, except that it's fragile. Janik Ramrath wants to know, how can I join your Discord? Janik, thank you for asking. Down in the video description, there's a link to my Patreon, and that's one of the benefits that patrons get, is you get to join the Discord server. That's how you get to join the Discord. I also have a bunch of stuff set up here behind me. It's not just random stuff. This is all stuff that's being given away. I do a giveaway. I do a big giveaway every month on the Patreon. You can go check out my Patreon channel to see more about that. But I do a big giveaway every month of just random gear. This is a new inbox, FreeSky X-Lite Pro. This is an EV200 goggle, and this is a quadcopter. It's beat to crap, so I don't like to give away beat up stuff, but it's mostly still in great shape. I'm giving it away with a set of JB motors, and a replacement frame just in case anything's broken on it. So those are some of the advantages of being a patron if you feel like joining up. Pawan BS in the regular chat. Let's get back to the regular chat now. Pawan asks, does the Lua script work in T16 with new firmware? Pawan, the Lua scripts in general work on the T16. Like, I've used the Crossfire Lua script, no problem. The Betaflight Lua script needs an update to recognize that the T16 exists, and Jumper tells me they are working on that, and it's close to happening, but I don't think it's happened yet. Daruk Berkos wants to know, what drone do you suggest under $220 ready to fly? Let me just check the price on this. Oh, come on. Let me check the price on this. Yeah. So the one that I'm working on my review of this quad. It hasn't come out yet, but I've seen so much good stuff about it. I kind of have no problem recommending it. This is the iFlight Nazgul 5. And just for kicks, I'm going to give you guys an affiliate link to it real quick. Copy that. There's an affiliate link to it. If you want to buy it, I'll get a small commission. I'm working on my full review of it, but in the meantime, I have no problem recommending it as a ready-to-fly under $220. It may be the best current ready-to-fly, 5-inch ready-to-fly under $220. There's another one they're working on. I have them. They're literally right behind me on the desk. I just got to get them unboxed and get them set up. I think it's called the Sidora. There's another one, the Sidora, which is a 6S drone. It's $270 and has upgraded parts, and it also looks pretty freaking good. I'm really looking forward to doing the head-to-head on these guys. No Signal says, any idea why two of my motors on my KISS ESC reverse direction? I believe that the KISS ESC has the solder bridge to reverse motors. Maybe that solder bridge came undone somehow. Yeah. Yannick in the Discord says, what's a good motor that doesn't cost the world? Yannick, if you check out my website at fpvknowitall.com, I have product recommendations that help answer that question. The motors would be under best quadcopter parts. There's a section on motors, and I gotta replace the the beloved DYS Samguk as my cheapest worth having. I got to find another like $9 or $10 motor to fit that spot. I'm so disappointed that DYS has gone out of business. There you go. You guys contact me in private. If you put it in the chat, I'll probably miss it because the chat goes by so fast. Oh my God. Oh my God. You are out of here. Stop spamming the chat. You people. Now Finn Adam is. I put the one guy in timeout. Now the other guy is spamming the chat. So there's where you can get suggestions for motors at almost any price point. Yeah. Strix motors are on sale. Matthew Walsh suggests the RDQ Badass motor. Here's the problem I have with those. Those are great motors, but I would love to find like RDQ motors are available only from race day quads. So they're great motors at a good price, but if you don't live in the US, you're not going to use them. The great thing about the DYS motors was they were available in the US, they were available from Banggood, they were just all over the place. So ideally, the motor that would take that slot on my shopping list would be one that anybody could buy all the world over. Maybe the Emax Eco. Yeah. Okay. GW FPV wants to know what causes CPU overload. I got it to 100%. It wouldn't arm. GW FPV, your gyro and PID rate are too fast. To lower it from 8K 8K to 4K 4K or something like that. Jacob Corello wants to know, how do I contact you? The easiest way to get a hold of me is on Facebook Messenger. Just go to Facebook and hit me up there. That's the easiest way. Wow, you're back. We asked... oh, at least he's not spamming this time. Is he spamming? Nope, it's not. Betty Music's, it is not possible. It cannot be done. JB Edit says Betaflight 4.1 made my quad flip out. I started lowering values and it was fine, but it flew like crap. Wow. JB Edits, I'm sorry to hear that. So many people. If Betty Music spams anymore, then yeah, he's going to get blocked. He got timeouted. If he spams anymore, he's going to get blocked. Betaflight 4.1 made his quad flip out. So many, I mean, I hate to hear stories like that. The defaults should be pretty good for everybody. Let's see here. Best beginner 3-inch, Martins Bogdanovs. Martins, I mean, are you looking for a ready to fly? Probably the Diatone GT349 would be a direction I would point you if you want a ready to fly. Or the 369. Yeah. Robert Nelson, am I still using my Horus? No, I haven't used my Horus pretty much since I got it. I mean, I did a very positive review of the Horus, but the ergonomics never quite jibed with me. And at the end of the day, it's heavier, but also it's just such a it feels like I hate taking the Horus out to the field and getting it dirty. It was so pretty. I just stuck with my Tyrannus and never kept the Horus. So thank you, D. Sean O'Mac in the super chat. Thanks for $10. JB, you've answered every question I've ever asked you. Keep doing what you do. Thank you, D. Sean. Fun Guy, thanks for $2 in the super chat. QX7 needs replacing X9D SE 2019 or Jumper T16. Here's the thing about that question. People are asking, and a lot of people are asking this question. X9D SE 2019, the Tyrannus, or the Jumper T16. The X9D SE 2019 is a fine radio, but it's like $250. It's like $100 more than the Jumper T16. And when I look at the Tyrannus X9D 2019 and ask myself, what am I getting for that $100 compared to the Jumper? I just don't see it. So you get Free Sky access. Let's find a picture of the X9D 2019. Hang on. And I really do need a producer now to get these pictures up and stuff. X9D SE 2019 versus the Jumper T16. Okay, let's pop that one over there and this one over here. All right. So here's the X9D. There's the Jumper T16. Now, which of these radios costs $100 more than the other? Hang on a second here. That's what I'm asking you to tell me. Which of these radios costs $100? Can I please just get a picture of the radio? Can I please just get a picture of the radio? Oh, here they are side by side. Thank you, Oscar Leon. Here, let's... Now, this is the... That's just the regular X9D. So let's be fair. They do look pretty similar, though. Which of these radios costs $100 more than the other? Come on, give me a nice picture. Okay, we'll do this one. I mean, would you believe that the Jumper is the cheaper one? It's got a big screen. It's got a color screen. It's got a very nice fit and finish. I'm not saying that this is a bad radio. This is a good radio, and this form factor has been my daily driver for 2 years or more. But at the end of the day, I don't know how you charge $250 for this radio and $160 for this radio. So if you look at this and you feel like that's worth $100 more, go for it. It does have a few things. It's got the FreeSky Access Protocol. That's true. Although you can't bind D8 receivers to it unless you have an external module. To me, I don't feel like Access Protocol... I feel like Access Protocol is a move by FreeSky to get you to stop using older receivers and to lock other people out of the market. It does have some advantages for the user, but they're not like super compelling advantages. And it's certainly not worth paying $100 more for the radio. So, Tomax777 wants to know what goggles you should buy for $500. Tomax, you should look at the SkyZone Sky 030 or the Fatshark HDO. The Fatshark HDO, you will need to get a module, which will cost you another $50 to $100 or more. So I guess if your budget's a hard $500, then the SkyZone Sky 030 is the one to get. Paul Stone says the X9D has more stick throw and the sticks are in a better position. Yeah, I do like the gimbal feel. I'm not like a snob. It's tough because I've used the FreeSky gimbals for so long that I'm probably just used to them. And if I used the Jumper gimbals for a while, I'd probably get used to them. But the stick throw on the X9D is just a little bit more. I do like it. But I've been using the T16 gimbals and I don't hate them. What about the T18 SG, says Tamir. T18 SG. Isn't that a Futaba radio? The T18 SG is a Futaba radio, isn't it? Or is that a Jumper? No, that's a Futaba. The T8, yeah, no. The Futaba T18 SG is a fantastic radio, but two things about it is it's super duper expensive and it doesn't run OpenTX, which I don't like. Blow Smoke says, my biggest issue with soldering is getting the freaking solder attached to the pad. It never freaking sticks to the pad. Blow Smoke, there's two things that cause that. And the number one thing is that your iron is cold. Your iron is just not hot enough. Or your iron is not moving heat into the pad because you have poor contact or oxidation on the tip. Those are things. Eli Howarth. Hi, Eli. Eli says, I'm a patron. I donate to your knowledge. Thank you, Eli. If you are a patron, you'll get probably a little bit more obvious response over on the Discord, but I do see your message. On my first build, Holybro F7 with 40 amp ESC 2208 to 1800 kV motor. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. 40 amp ESC. Yeah, you're good. Don't worry about that. Make sure you install the capacitor on that ESC. The Holybro ESCs on 6S are a little more likely to pop than I would prefer. Definitely install like 1,000 microfarad 35 volt capacitor, but you'll be all right. JB Edits wants to know what version of Betaflight has the best prop wash handling. It's got to be 4.1 with the RPM filters. Mahul Anand, Patreon is as little as $2 a month or more if you feel like I've earned it. My lowest tier is $2. And I always say, however much you're happy to give, that's how much I'm happy for you to give me. I never want you giving any more than you feel like I've earned. In fact, I would prefer that you give me less than you feel like I've earned. I want you to be like, fine, yes, please. This is just take $2. I want you to feel like you got $50 worth of value from my content, and then you give me like $10. See, I hate being in a situation where you feel like I've taken advantage of you. I'm not taking advantage of you, but like some people are really pushy about their Patreon, or they're like, they hold back stuff unless you give me money. And I hate that. I don't want to feel that way. So I just put all this info out. I help everybody. I answer all the questions I get, I answer as many as I possibly can. And I hope that in the end, people are just like, okay, take my money, please. So it's $2 is the minimum tier, but you can give as much or as little as you feel like I earned. Flyback FPV is correct. If you have issues getting the solder to stick, you need to use flux. You're not wrong, Flyback FPV, but even without flux, if you're just having that much trouble getting solder to stick, the iron is too cold, or there's some other problem like that. Pappy is looking for a 4500-ish kV set of 1304 motors for a 3-inch. Woo. What are the driblet motors? Those are Drew's motors. The driblet, the dab motors. Are they dabs? The dab is an 1104 7500 kV for 2-inch. That's a tough one, Pappy. Anybody know a good 1304 motors in the 4500 to 5500 kV range? Any good options other than the Flight Test Gremlins? I don't have one of those for you. Let's see what somebody comes up with. Jesse wants to know, would I recommend updating any or all quads to Betaflight 4.1? Jesse, I'm moving to Betaflight 4.1. With 4.0, I left some of my quads on 357 because I didn't want to hassle with the upgrades. But to me, the advantages of 4.1, specifically the RPM filters, are strong enough that I'm going whole hog. Rick Bent says the only 1300 motors I like are the AMAX 1303s. Pappy may be worth checking out. Mr. Despair wants to know my Discord. Mr. Despair, my Discord is open to patrons only, so you join my Patreon, and that's how you get the invitation. Does Zing have any 1300 motors? If they do, I probably could recommend them. Let's see. Zing motors. What do they got? Product category. Motors. iFlight Zing motors. Let's see now. We want a 13.0. Sort by size isn't an option. There's the Zing 1105 and 1103. There's a 1206 and a 1404. There's a 1408. I don't see a 1300 motor, though. Yeah, so I don't think so. Okay. RCX. Yeah, Tamir points out it might be a bad soldering iron. If your soldering iron, if your heating element has gone out or your thermocouple has been damaged, if your soldering iron is damaged, you may just not be getting as much heat as you think you are. JJ Bud wants to know, do I still use individual ESCs versus 4-in-1? It depends on the build. I will say, my Stingy build, I got annoyed at the 4-in-1. I fried the 4-in-1. That was my bad. I mistakenly wired it up wrong and fried it, and I got annoyed. I didn't have any spare 4-in-1s, and I put individual ESCs on it. The thing about individual ESCs that's nice, there are two things that are nice about them. One is, if you fry one, you can just replace the one you fried. The other thing is, it's way easier to put capacitors on individual ESCs because you can stick the capacitor out on the arm. And you can have 4 capacitors, 4 smaller ones, which are a little, I think, easier to deal with than one big one on the 4-in-1. So I sometimes still use individual ESCs. The thing is, many frames are not made for individual ESCs. The arms aren't thick enough to put them out there. So Holy Bro still makes some individual ESCs. And in fact, this is one of the best, most robust ESCs you can buy. You're gonna lose your mind when you see this. Where's the price? Where's the price? There it is. No, that's not the one. Is that it? Hang on. No, that's the 4-in-1. No, that must be it. No, that's hang on. It's on my own website. Where do you guys see this? I put it on my website. This is one of the best individual ESCs you can get. It is the T-Motor F45A. This is a super good, super bulletproof ESC. I know pilots who say they've never blown one, and they rely on them, but it is $30. It's $30 for one freaking ESC. So you're going to put $120 into ESCs on a quad. So yeah, individual ESCs aren't dead, but... Okay, I have a question for you guys. And we're coming up on the hour. I'm going to take a minute and ask you guys a question. I want your feedback, please. Hang on, let me get this set up. So I did this video, the 3D printing shootout, a little while earlier this week. And a lot of people were surprised to learn that I don't own a 3D printer. And it's true. 3D printing is its own discipline. It's just as freaking detailed as quads, right? And I haven't wanted to dig into it because it's been my impression that you really need to do a lot of work to get, especially with flexible filament like TPU, like we use on quads. And I'm just like, I don't have any time to get into that. But inspired by some of the comments on this video, I'm thinking about getting a 3D printer, and let's just see how easy it is to get good results and document the process. So I would like to get you guys' input if you are, and we can talk about it in the chat, but you're welcome to contact me privately if you know a thing or two. I would love to hear more about this because here are some of the printers I'm looking at. Now I'm tempted to just go and say, screw it, this is a business expense, and spend $1,000 on like a Prusa Mark III, which are like the best and probably will just work out of the box. But that's not going to be good content. I want to make good content, not just good prints. Yeah, me, myself, and I says, buy a Prusa Mark III, will help you with everything. Yeah, but a Prusa Mark III is like $800. It's like $800, $900. They're fantastic printers. They're $1,000 assembled or $750 for the kit. And that's just outside of most people's budget. If I just wanted to buy a printer and get prints and not make video content about it, that's what I would buy. But I want to make content for you guys. So I'm looking at printers in the $200 to $300 price range, which seems like it's a very, very sweet spot. And I'd like to find out more about what you guys think. Now, a lot of people are mentioning the Ender 3. The Ender 3 seems like the most common printer out there. But especially to print flexible filament, it needs some adaptation. Like, I think it's a Bowden drive, not a direct drive. And as tempting as it is to say, okay, I'm going to spend $230 on a Ender 3 and then make videos about upgrading it, I'm also looking at these two guys, and these two guys are supposed to be maybe offer a little bit more value out of the box than the Ender 3. And I'm looking at the Anycubic Mega S and the Sovol SVO1. I'm leaning towards the Sovol SVO1 because it's direct drive out of the box. And so it'll be better for flexible filament. I would love to hear, Rick Bent says you can get an Ender 3 for $160. Yeah, Rick, but then if I have to put a direct drive extruder on it, isn't that going to cost, I mean, isn't that going to close the difference? If I can get a direct drive Sovol for $254, that seems like a good deal to me. I'd love to hear what you guys think, both in the chat right now and in private if you want to message me in private and give me your feedback. These are some of the directions I'm leaning, or if there's something I'm overlooking. Josh Walsh says you can print TPU with a Bowden drive, no problem. Now, Martin V and others are suggesting I look at the Prusa Mini. The Prusa Mini is tempting. Am I saying that right? Is it Prusa? The Prusa Mini is $350. It's $350. a printer from Prusa with all the wonderful things that it has, but it has a very small bed size, a very small print volume. And I'm not sure how much that's going to matter. Like the print volume it's got a very small footprint. And it would probably also just work out of the box. But I'm not sure if working out of the box is actually the best for making YouTube content. If I just buy it and it works and I go, okay, just spend money, that doesn't make the best videos. Yeah, so it's got an 18 centimeter print size versus 20, more like 25. What's this one? The SVO1 is, how big is the bed size? It's bigger. I don't see the number. Oh, there it is. 224 centimeter. Yeah. So, there you go. Yeah, the cheapest thing on Banggood, I'm not sure. Yeah, camera mounts. I guess probably the biggest thing I'm leaning towards printing is where is the let's see if I can find it. Like, what if well, I can't find the exact model that I want to print, but there's a thing that goes on the front of a Fatshark goggle that, yeah, like, it's kind of like this thing. It's kind of like this thing, but it holds a GoPro. Like, would that fit on the how wide is that thing? That might be just a little too wide to fit on the smaller bed. I'm not sure. Anyway, there you go. That's what I'm thinking about. So I'd love to get your feedback about that. I would be printing TPU. I'd love to get your feedback about what the sort of the best sweet spot between not spending too much money, but also not like I don't want to spend $300 on a printer. I have to spend a lot of time getting to work. If I could spend $300 on a printer, I don't have to spend time getting to work. B42 now says, take the printer that's most common so you help the most people. It's true. Yeah, no, Daytona Jim, I know you can print on a diagonal. Yeah, no, that's true. Can print standing objects. So, oh, very interesting. Anyway. Say no to plastic and no to 3D printer, says Mehul and end. Get a water jet. Is it worth it to use a balsa composite frame instead of carbon? Ralph Baskin, I'm not sure there are any components better than carbon, especially for mini quad sized frames. Carbon has such a great balance of stiffness, strength, and durability. So, Jeffrey Dev points out the diagonal width of the Prusa Mini is like 21 centimeters. So that's more than enough. Pardon me. Yeah, $350 is $100 more, and you know that Prusa Mini is just going to be gold out of the box. Tempting. Yeah. I know the Ender can print TPU. Just curious how much work it's going to take. Upgrading the Ender 3 would be some badass videos and lots of clicks. So you think I should buy the cheapest Ender 3 I can and then try and tweak it up? It's true. Maybe that's what I should do. Yes, people have printed TPU on the Ender 3, but how many have failed? Indeed. A lot of people recommending the Prusa Mini. Interesting. Well, there you go. Panda FPV, thank you for $10 in the super chat. Says I use a stock Ender 3 and print TPU through the Bowden tube without any problems. I also didn't hear an answer. I may have walked away, but what do you think about ready-made RC batteries? I haven't tested a ready-made RC battery in a while, so I don't know whether they're very good or not. Redbeards, thank you for $3. Stay away from Bowden. Yeah, I know. People tell me you can print flexible filament with Bowden, but like, don't you want to stack the odds in your favor? That's why I mean, tell me what you guys think specifically of the Sovol. I mean, it seems to me Seems to me like this is a pretty... What am I missing about this one? It's $250. It's got direct drive. Glass plate built in. What am I missing about that one? Ryan Judd says, you'll spend the rest of your life trying to tweak crappy 3D printers into performing like a Prusa. Well, maybe I should buy both and do a head-to-head. Yeah, Russell Baker, can't you just change out the Bowden extractor? You can, but then how much is... So you spend $150 on a crappy Ender 3, and then you spend another $50 or $100 changing out the extruder, and could you have just bought a $250 printer with a built-in direct drive extruder? You know? I don't know. License to Drive has not seen the Soval on 3D printer channels. Certainly having a community built around the printer makes a big difference. There's no doubt about that. Callisto, you print the new extruder? Can you print an I thought the extruder was like... Can you just print an extruder and just swap? If you get a Bowden extruder, can you just... Is that really... I mean, I know you can print parts, but can you just print a new extruder? Yikes. Viper FPV, do I need auto level? How often do you have to re-level the bed, and how much of a pain in the ass is it if you have to manually level the bed? You can't. You can print extruder enhancements. You can, but it'll melt. That's what I thought, Julian. You can't. The extruder is right next to the hot end, so won't it just melt? Now this Soval has an attachment for an automatic leveler, but it's an accessory you have to buy. But it can be set up to do automatic leveling. Josh Elam says you almost never have to level the bed. So right, so if you just level it once and it's a pain in the ass, I guess that's okay. No, it won't. That's bullshit. A lot of people saying that the extruder will not melt if you 3D print it. It says the Prusa is printed out of PETG. Okay. It's a real pain in the ass to re-level, and you have to do it each time you start a print to be sure it's level, says Sander. That's not what a lot of people are saying. Let's see here. Printed my extruder. It works as TPU as well as a Bowden. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to spend the whole rest of the live stream having you guys answer my questions. This is a Q&A. I'm supposed to be answering your questions, but... I am looking for more info about this and would love to get you guys' input. If anybody out there feels like having a chat about 3D printing and selecting a great 3D printer, let's say that the bottom end is like, it feels to me like at the $150 price range, especially if you're printing flexible filament, you're going to have to do a lot of work to get it working well. And when you could go from 100, you're probably going to spend money getting it working. Can you really print flexible filament well without putting, like you say, okay, $150, but then if you have to spend $50 more on something else, now you're at the $200 price point. So let's say the low end is the $150 price point. The high end is like the Prusa Mark III Mini at the $350 price point. If you guys want to chat with me about recommendations of what I should be looking at in that price range, where the best sort of dollars per value is, then hit me up on Facebook Messenger and let's chat. But I'm going to move on right now. MKME Lab. Yeah, maybe MKME Lab. You have several printers. You want to talk about MKME Lab has his own YouTube channel. Maybe we could do a little collab, a little interview about that, and we could talk about it. Reach out to me. Back to the questions and answers. Yeah, Chris Frey, I talked about that earlier. I will be taking DYS off my website because they're closing. As long as they're in stock, I mean, you can still buy them. Okay. Kevin Stark says, I have a KISS quad. When I'm flying and go to 0 throttle, it freaks out. What do you think it could be? Well, I don't know. What does it do when it freaks out? You got to be specific. Guys, when you describe a problem to like a person you're trying to get help from, you can't just say it freaks out. That doesn't give us the information we need. What does it do? How does the quad move in the air when it freaks out? That's what I got to know. True Style says I missed his super chat. Oh no. There are a couple super chats I haven't gotten to yet, but don't freak out. Thaddeus Oliver, thanks for $5. Thaddeus says, video blackout caused by not updating to new Betaflight or PID and gyro freak too high. None of that would cause video blackout, Thaddeus Oliver. The PID settings and so forth, the video signal just passes right through. The OSD sometimes can screw it up and cause black video, but in general, black video means your camera is not wired up right. True Style, thank you for $5. True Style says, I like the X-Lite Pro and switched to Axis yesterday to try out the better latency. It seems good, but I'm noticing RSSI seems off. Anyone seen this? True Style, what I would do if your RSSI seems off is I would check against the RSSI in the telemetry sensors in the radio. Sometimes there is a miscalibration between the receiver and the OSD, and the OSD will show incorrect telemetry values. You can scale the OSD value in the Betaflight command line. There's a RSSI scale parameter that lets you scale it up and down. But the first thing I would do is I would check the telemetry sensors in the telemetry screen of the radio and see if the value is correct there. The other thing I would do is test the range, like put it into range test mode and see if it fail-safes around the RSSI value that you expect, right? To see where the issue is coming from. The freaking out air mode quad, I'm going to guess that what's happening is when you lower the throttle all the way down, it's shutting off, and you need idle up configured so that it doesn't do that. Let's see. No, Verdi Hermanash says there's this guy on YouTube. He changed the scaling for RSSI and Betaflight. He claims it increased range. Is that possible? No. No. Here's what I think is happening. People think that Betaflight fail-safes when Betaflight sees the RSSI go too low. So if you change the scaling, Betaflight won't fail-safe because the RSSI will stay higher. That is not how it works. Betaflight doesn't pay any attention to the RSSI value. All Betaflight does is pass the RSSI value to you in the OSD. The receiver controls when failsafe happens. When the receiver decides that RSSI is too low and the signal is lost, the receiver says to the flight controller, failsafe has happened. And then the flight controller responds. You cannot change your range by raising or lowering the RSSI threshold or the RSSI scaling in Betaflight because Betaflight has no function where Betaflight cares what your RSSI value is. The only time when Betaflight cares what your RSSI value is if it goes, maybe it starts blinking in the OSD when it gets too low, but I don't even know if it does that. Okay. Ho Operator wants to know, what does ARF and PNP mean when I go to buy a drone? ARF stands for Almost Ready to Fly. An ARF quad typically will be completely ready to go, except it doesn't have a receiver. You will install your receiver, and that's the point. They don't know if you have a FreeSky or a Spectrum or whatever receiver. So an ARF quad, you will install the receiver. You will need to do a little bit of configuration to get it working with your receiver, and then you're ready to go. PNP stands for plug and play, or sometimes you'll see PNF, plug and fly. PNF means that it comes pre-wired for a receiver, so you can plug in your receiver, but you don't need to do any soldering. So ARF and PNP are almost the same thing. With an ARF, you wouldn't expect to get a pre-soldered wire. So I've also seen some people selling ARF kits. An ARF kit would be an unassembled bunch of hardware that you have to solder up and build. But you could probably tell whether they're talking about an ARF kit or an ARF assembled model just by the pictures, right? If it's all in boxes, it's a kit. FPV4 Life wants to know, is it already worth to switch from Betaflight 406 to 4.1? FPV4 Life, I feel like the RPM filters are very, very good and make it worth the switch. I am making the switch. It's up to you. If you love how your 406 quad flies, maybe you don't want to switch. B42 Now in the Discord says, I often tore my XT60 plug away at the solder joint of the ESC. Unfortunately, I ripped off the pad. No, there's no way to fix that. Once you rip the pad off, the ESC is dead. Sorry. There's just no way to reliably fix that. What you need to do is don't direct solder your XT60 to the ESC. Use some silicon wire, and then use zip ties for strain relief so that when your battery ejects, it doesn't rip the pad off. Now, B42 Now says, I tried using zip ties, but they didn't break much, and I also tore the zip tie away. So the third thing you can do is make sure your battery is securely attached. Use a gel pad, or use Velcro, or use dual lock fastener. I personally prefer gel pads because they don't require me to put anything on my batteries, and they grip. I prefer Grip. I think it's pretty good, but you can get cheaper generic gel pads, and use 2 battery straps, not 1. So use strain relief on your XT60 wire, and use 2 battery pads, and use some other kind of retention like Velcro, gel pad, or dual lock fastener. Those are things that can help protect you from that happening. Is 4.1 worth it? If you have BLHeli S, asks Javier Molina. Javier, if you get the JESC firmware, you can do bidirectional D-shot and RPM filtering on BLHeli S. So, yep, it is worth it. Johnny Ice, thanks for $3. Why can't they make a good FPV camera record HD? Johnny, I think you're asking about DVRs that record the FPV camera. Why can't there be a good FPV DVR? I don't know. I mean, there are a few of them that do an okay job. The thing is, it's all standard definition video to begin with, and these guys are using off-the-shelf components. So my guess is that there's just not a lot of components out there that can do a good job recording standard definition video. I'm not sure. Luke Till, thanks for $5. One motor spun to full RPM in mid-flight. How did that happen? First 5 seconds has the crash if you want to watch. Let's look at this crash from Luke Till and see what happens. Is that how you do it? Nope. How do you do the question mark V? Hang on. Oh, /watch. There we go. I got it. Okay, I got Luke's video up. Let's take a look at what's going on here. And I'm going to turn the sound on because listening to the motors is as important as anything. Although this is DVR, it may not have sound. Looks like it doesn't have sound. That's too bad. Okay, so here's what I see right there. Hang on. So I see that the quad is rolling left. Now I'm going to frame by frame it and see if it rolls back or forward. Here it goes. Yep, okay. It's rolling back and to the left. And you can see that if you watch the horizon when the roll starts, just as the roll starts, he rolls to the right. Boom. So he's input right roll, I believe. He's trying to do a right snap roll. And just as the roll starts right now, the horizon is moving down, and now we're rolling left. So to me, this looks like the back left motor failed, because that's the motor we're rolling towards. Luke says one motor spun to full in mid-flight. And what you're seeing there in the, I'm going to guess you're looking at the black box. When the motor stops making thrust, it will go to 100% in the black box log, because it's trying to, the analogy I like to use is if your brakes failed on your car, what would your brake pedal be doing at the moment you crashed? You'd be standing on it full. So when the motor fails, it goes to 100% in black box, and I think your back left motor failed. The interesting thing is that typically a motor will fail at the end of a flip or roll, because during the flip or roll, the motor is at idle, and then as you center the stick, it'll have to come from idle up to full again, and that's a really abrupt move. But that's not actually what you were doing. The motor didn't fail at the end of a flip or roll. Luke Till says, no black box, but you can see the front right spin faster in the DVR. I'm not convinced about that, Luke Till. Luke, the DVR is only operating at 30 frames per second or whatever. I'm not convinced you can see any real meaningful information about the speed of the motor just by looking at the DVR. To me, it looks like your back left motor failed. Now, I think it failed as you were pushing right roll, because we can see the quad start to roll right and then flip back. Now, that's interesting because it would suggest that a relatively mild right move caused the motor to stop making thrust, but I would replace that back left motor first. You mostly went by sound. The thing is, Luke, when one of the motors stops making thrust, the quad goes into the death roll, and usually another motor will then max out trying to fight it. So think about it, Luke. The quad is rolling left and back. It's going to try and make something happen. Is it a motor or ESC problem? No way to tell, MC's Creations. You replace the motor. If that fixes the problem, good. If it doesn't fix the problem, you replace the ESC. There's really no way to tell for sure. Ivan Lin says, could you give a little explanation about if a radio supports TBS Crossfire protocol or just PPM output to the TBS module? Any differences, especially about latency? Yeah. Latency is going to be much higher when you're outputting PPM to the Crossfire module. In addition to that, you won't have the bidirectional digital communication that lets telemetry data come into the radio. If you want to use Crossfire with a radio that doesn't support it, then PPM output from the Buddy Box can work, but you're losing so many of the advantages of Crossfire at that point. It's just painful to think about. Let's see here. Have I ever updated an ISDT charger's software? Yeah, I have, James. One time I know I did it. I have that little thing that plugs into the 3.5 millimeter jack. I have done it. Let's see here. Ho Operator, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Thank you. Let's see. Any other super chats I've missed? I don't think so. I think I'm caught up on super chats. That's good. Nimbus FPV in the Discord. When I save my dump from Betaflight 406 and update to 4.1, how do I know which parts to paste back into the CLI? Nimbus FPV, I think if you leave out the master and the profile settings, you'll probably be okay. So here's a config dump. This is a full config dump. Oh, hang on. You can't see it. Now you can see it. Here's a config dump. I think if you leave out the master section, just get rid of it, and all of the profile sections, I think you'll probably be okay. In the master section, if you want to, you can paste in the OSD stuff. That's safe. There's more things in master that I know are safe, like min check and max check, RSSI channel. But if you're not sure, if you don't feel comfortable, leave out the master section and leave out the profile sections, and I think you'll be okay. Daytona Jim 78, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Jim wants to know, should I get the micro 250 milliwatt Crossfire or the R9M Lite Pro 1 watt with the X Lite? Jim, you got to just ask yourself whether you want to be in the Crossfire ecosystem or the R9 ecosystem. There's a small difference. There's a big difference in the output power. 1 watt is significantly more than 250 milliwatts. But at the end of the day, that's not what I think should make the difference for most people, unless you're trying to go super long range. 250 milliwatts Crossfire is more range than 90% of pilots are ever going to need. So unless you're really hardcore long range, And if you are really hardcore long range, you've got to ask yourself whether R9 is going to give you the kind of reliability you want to trust your quad to. There are long range pilots out there who use R9 successfully. There are also a lot of people out there who had R9 failsafe for some inexplicable reason and they lost their plane. I would go Crossfire. I have gone Crossfire. TBS doesn't send me anything for free anymore. Sorry. So when you see me using Crossfire, here's the thing. I use Crossfire even though I have to buy it out of pocket, and even though Trappy has been a real jerk to me sometimes. He would say I've been a real jerk to him. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to start the tit for tat. I'm just saying when you see me using Crossfire, if there were a great alternative to Crossfire, I would use it. Because I don't love sending business over to TBS. But I do it because Crossfire is that freaking good. And that's just a fact. So, there you go. If you're very, very budget constrained, R9 can work for you. But it's a little bit more of a hassle because it doesn't have over-the-air firmware updates. And if you're using the wrong firmware, you'll get fail-safes for no freaking reason. License to Drive says, I wish someone had told me about cell towers being able to cause Crossfire and R9 to failsafe. That shouldn't happen, License to Drive, if you are using the correct frequency for your region. So if you're in the US, you want to be using 915 megahertz. If you're in the EU, I think it's 853 megahertz. If you're using the right frequency, then you shouldn't be interfering with cellular. Felipe D says R9 is the only option for QX7. That's not true. That's not true. You just have to do the inverter mod. Hold on a second. I'm just checking some messages in the chat. Oh my goodness, what's going on here? I wish I had a freaking wish I had a mod here. Oh, does Ghostanon think that I'm not live? Oh, Ghostanon. Hey, screw you, Ghostanon. Bardwell doesn't read pleb chat. Gotta be a donor. First of all, screw you. Second of all, I spent the first 20 minutes of the stream reading the pleb chat, and I'm continuing to read the pleb chat, including reading your message, which could have been a question that I helped you with, but instead you gotta shit on me. I answer tons of questions from the pleb chat. You are a dumbass. What's the best long-range receiver for the Tyrannus QX7? Asks Mr. Despar in the regular chat. I don't know. DJ Pop in the Discord points out, and Jeffrey Dev asks, doesn't R9 support OTA updates? Yeah, R9 has just started supporting over-the-air firmware updates, but you have to buy all new receivers to support it. You can't just update firmware on the old receivers to support it. So, yes, if you're buying OTA receivers, then that solves that problem. I still think Crossfire is more generally reliable than R9. License to Drive says, my Crossfire is in the regular chat. The pleb chat. I'm going to just start calling you guys the pleb chat. License to Drive in the pleb chat says, my Crossfire is on 868. I had a failsafe at less than 40 meters. I suspect it was because of a mast that is a cell tower only 240 meters away. License to Drive, you're in... Where are you, License to Drive? Are you sure that 868 is the right frequency for your area? License to Drive does point out, though, that when you're close enough to a powerful... I mean... You can failsafe from a cell tower even if you're on 2.4 gig control, just because they put out a lot of energy. So, Ben Jacobs in the pleb chat asks, I have an old setup with red bottoms, a dodgy F3 Banggood flight controller, and it randomly drops out of the sky with the occasional roll of death. Ben Jacobs, anytime you're getting roll of death with no other symptoms like a rebooting flight controller or whatever, then I suspect a motor. If it always rolls the same way, then replace that motor. But since you know the whole thing is kind of old, dodgy, beat up, maybe it's time to upgrade the motors. Quad Farm says, I'm a donor and my questions get missed sometimes. It's true. I'm not as consistent as I should be about answering questions from my donors. I just like answering questions. Anyway. Ben Jacobs says, I do get a flight controller reboot. Okay, so then, Ben, the problem is not the motors. It's that you're losing power to the flight controller. And you got to look at how the flight controller is getting power. Thanks, Ho Operator, for $5. Thanks, Justin Pizzy. Justin Pizzy for $5 in the super chat says, I have a 250-gram 3-inch with Tattoo 650 milliamp hour 4S with 1407 3600 kV motors. No matter which prop I try, I get crazy battery sag, even with new batteries. 650 milliamp hour 4S, 1407 3600 kV. That should be an okay motor for 3-inch. 250 grams is not super heavy. I mean, 650 4S. I wonder if you should be using a larger battery, Justin. I wonder if the battery's just not up to it. 250 grams is a little heavy for a 3-inch. It's getting up there. This is not a lightweight 3-inch. Your motors aren't super crazy. Maybe you need a bigger battery or a higher C-rate battery. Yeah. I mean, Tattoo makes good batteries, but there are other great batteries out there. And Tattoo, try a GNB. Try a GNB battery and buy the highest C-rate you can. Maybe that would help. Borgus FPV in the Discord wants to know, what's the difference between the standard iFlight motors and the new iFlight Zing Unibell motor? Borgus, I haven't looked into this, but from the name Unibell, I would guess that the Unibell has a single-piece bell. So there's two ways that motor bells are usually made. One is to mill the top of the motor bell out of a piece of metal, aluminum usually, and then craft the ring separately and join them together. And the other way to do it is to mill the entire bell out of a single piece of metal. That's a single piece bell. Obviously, the single piece bell is more like it's stronger, but it's way more expensive to make the motor that way. So my guess would be that the Unibell uses a single piece bell, but I don't know that for sure. Is it possible to buddy box with the Jumper T16? Asks Jaloman. It is possible to buddy box with a T16, isn't it? I don't have mine handy, but doesn't it has a buddy box output, right? I'm pretty sure it does. Wow. Jojo wants to know any suggestions on tuning. Jojo in the pleb chat asks any suggestions on tuning an 850-gram heavy 360 millimeter motor-to-motor distance 2207 motor 6-inch prop quad. It's for DCL racing. Wow. I guess the first thing I ask Jojo whenever somebody asks me for tuning advice is, what don't you like about how it's currently flying? Right? So that's the first thing I would say. Yeah. Niek Westernick in the pleb chat wants to know, do you have a go-to long-range antenna setup? Niek, I don't fly long-range really, so I don't have a go-to setup for it. Louis Lima wants to know, what would happen if the fail-safe button on an XM Plus was pressed mid-flight? Louis, I know the answer to this. Today, the bind button on our receivers is usually really tiny and hard to press, but back in the day, like on the XM, the X4R SB, it was a pretty big button and it could get pressed by accident. And what will happen is that the quad will fail safe and fall out of the air. So you don't want the other bind button getting pressed in mid-flight. Ghostanon says, I don't need help. I need an adult. Okay. Ghostanon. Yeah. Chat my message. Ghostanon, you are out of here. Bye, Ghostanon. I don't know, but Ghostanon's just kind of trolling and just being a jerk. Ghostanon's gone, guys. He's timed out. He'll be back in 300 seconds, and if he continues trolling, we'll just kick him for good. Any upcoming products you can't talk about, says Thomas Bird Jr. Not that I know of. Chris Morey says, what do you think about the H7 flight controllers, like the SP Racing H7? The H7 is starting to be at the point where the additional speed is useful. With bidirectional D-shot and RPM filtering, even an F7 might not be able to run 8K, 8K, but an H7 probably can. The other thing is that the H7, like the SP Racing H7, have really cool new features, like the ability to load firmware from an SD card, and that's pretty slick. Brody Port, any update on my JB F7? Yeah, we've placed the order from the manufacturer and are waiting for it to come. Blow Smoke doesn't like it when people get timed out for anything but spamming. Well, Blow Smoke, you can moderate your own channel and I'll moderate mine, okay? That's all I got to say for that, about that. I try to keep the tone. I try to keep the tone friendly and positive. I don't usually ban people. I almost never ban people. Like the thing that gets people banned is personal insults. I just don't stand for that. There's no place for that. If you just like are insulting somebody, like calling them fat or ugly or stupid, just you're out of here. That's not okay. Okay, and a few people are just so persistently negative. I'm like, why are you here? So I ban them. But I almost never ban people. But I'll time people out because that's what we're here. We're not here to just be trolling. We're here to get help and talk. And anyway, so I have to take a break. I have to take a break real quick because I need a bathroom break. So I'm gonna break. I'm gonna pause for just 1 minute while I run upstairs and take care of that. I thought I could make it to the end of the stream, but I'm not gonna make it. So I'm gonna be back in 2 minutes. Chat amongst yourselves, and I will be right back. Okay. Oh, hello. Hello. Okay. The other thing. The other thing about moderation policy, my experience is that once trolly behavior starts getting through, it can snowball. And so, like, if you just squish it right in the beginning, then that yeah. All right, starting on my second leader. Primoz, I can't say your last name, Primoz. Primoz asks in the pleb chat, why don't you also focus on airplanes? I nav wings long range. Primoz, I've done a couple videos about airplanes, but ever since I started flying quads, I just am not, I used to fly airplanes. Quads are freaking awesome. I'm just not that interested anymore. I kind of want to do, like, I have the idea to do like a mini Gremlin build, and then do it as a straight line of sight build, and then convert it over to iNav for like a GPS assisted. That would be such a cool build. There's always something else I'm doing instead. Yeah, so I don't know. Andrew Evans wants to know, do you have a good video for using black box to help tune your quad? Andrew Evans, I don't. I mean, I do, but it's actually no longer the best video. Here's the video I recommend, Andrew Evans, if you want to learn how to pid tune using black box. All right, no, Mark Spatz, you hush up, Mark. This is how Mark starts all of his videos. You ready?
All right.
That's it. Watch.
All right, today we're going to...
See? Watch. Hang on. This is going to be so funny. Here, where's the third one? Hang on, let's go to his channel. How many videos of his start with, all right?
That will take you to this.
Hang on. Let's go to the beginning. Here we go.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Hang on. Here we go. No, go to the beginning. All
right.
There, yeah. Okay. You can see I've been watching his videos. Hang on. Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
All right. Today...
Mark, I'm sorry for picking on you. Hang on. Here we go.
All right. Today...
Uh-huh.
All right. It's...
It just gets funnier every time.
All right. Today... All right. So today...
Okay, so let me go back to answer your question. All right, here's the video for pid tuning with black box. Here's the video I strongly recommend. I love this series. This is a great series he did, and I highly recommend anybody interested. I'm so glad he made it. All right. That's his you're going to learn something today. Mihul Anand says, Joshua, don't become PewDiePie. Okay. I don't think I will. Mark, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to make you feel self-conscious. We all have these little things we do. I say so. So when I come back from like I'll be recording and I'll screw up and I'll need to make a new transition or something. I say so. I always start with so, and I have to like kick myself. I used to be a classroom instructor, and when we trained, they tried to teach you to become aware of these kind of just filler words. We all have them, and not use them because it's like not professional. So Mark just starts with, all right. That's how he just gets going. And we all have those if you haven't been trained to notice them. And it's really hard to just start talking without them. So that's just his. Yeah, I say so. Is 1 mile, Mr. Despar, is 1 mile considered mid-range or long range? Where's the line, Mr. Despar? Somebody once said to me, oh, wait, we're still looking at Mark. Hang on. Let me go back to, there we go. Somebody once said to me that when you get past the point where if it goes down, you're not getting it back, that's long range. So maybe if you're flying 1 mile in the desert, that's not long range because you just drive and get it. But if you're flying 1 mile over the city, if you lose it, then yeah. So I think that yeah. Bronson 006. I haven't switched to the jumper? Oh, Bronson asks, have you been experiencing low RSSI values using the jumper external module? I have tested the jumper module back when I did the T12 review. I range tested the jumper 4-in-1 module and found that it got as good or better range as my X9D. I haven't switched to the T16 full-time yet, and the reason why not? Didn't I say I was doing that? Yeah, but I got to make videos about all of it, and that's going to take me 3 weeks to make videos about every single thing that I do when I'm switching over and setting it up. So I'm not using it full-time yet, so I couldn't say. But when I tested it in the T12, it got fine range. So... Luke Till, thanks for $2. Disarm did not register. Any insight? Luke Till, it's got to be like a receiver problem, right? Betaflight will never stay armed once it gets the message from the receiver that disarm happened. So I'm going to guess maybe a failsafe happened. Did your failsafe's not set up right or something? But yeah. Remy Tim wants, thank you for $5. How many more all rights does this get me? Remy Tim, I'm not going to bore the rest of the stream with a bunch more all right. All right, I'll give you one. Remy Tim, for $5, thank you for the $5 super chat. You get one more all right.
All right.
What if we do this?
All right. 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 Today we're going to start on our. All right. Today we're going to start on our. All right. Today we're going to start on our. All right. Today we're going to start on our little series to tune a 6S rig. All right.
I have a career as a music producer. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Keep it nice, guys. I don't know RTK. I don't know. I can't go back through the chat and figure out what you're talking about with Enzo Pedrera, but it feels like it's getting a little heated. And let's just keep it friendly, okay? Thank you. Yeah, true long range pilots would say that 1 mile is not long range. Fun guy, thanks for $2. Send a link to the T16. There are like 3 different ones. Fun guy, there's the Jumper T16, there's the Jumper T16 Pro and the Jumper T16 Plus. One of the Pro and the Plus, one of them has the Hall effect gimbals, and one of them has Hall effect gimbals and the internal multi-protocol module. That's the one you want. I can't remember whether it's the Pro or the Plus that has them both, but that's what you want. Mr. Sprinkles in the pleb chat says, when I try to arm my Tiny Hawk S, one of the motors only jitters. Please help. Mr. Sprinkles, that's probably a damaged motor or a damaged ESC. So, replace the motor. If you want to, you can easily just unplug and plug in a different motor just to test it. Test the motor. If that's not it, you got to replace the flight controller. Quadrophenia. Hello, Steve. Steve is one of my longest and oldest supporters. I don't mean oldest, Steve, sorry. Steve is one of my longest and oldest supporters, and good to see you here in the live stream, Steve. Brian Souter. It's the Pro that you want the T16 Pro. That's the one with the Hall effect gimbals and the internal multi-protocol module. Stan Rowland says, hey, JB, I was flying at the park yesterday. Someone came and plugged in a DJI HD setup. I lost video. Every time he plugged in and flew, I'd lose video. Is this normal? Stan, here's the thing. The DJI system is digital, but it's not. It still is using frequencies. It still has 8 channels, just like Raceband 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If he was on the same channel as you, then just as if he was using an analog transmitter and plugged in on you, he's going to knock you out, and you're going to knock him out. So DJI doesn't magically get you away from the need to manage channels, okay? This is different than like Connex ProSight. Connex ProSight used frequency hopping, and it didn't directly interfere with analog channels in that same way. The DJI doesn't use that technology. And people say, DJI, it interferes with analog. And I'm like, analog also interferes with analog. It's no different. It's no different. So you just got to know what channel he's on. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the DJI channels go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I think it's 8, 7, 6. And so when you're taking the DJI channels and the Raceband channels, Channels 1 through 5 correspond more or less. DJI channel 1 overlaps with raceband 1, and etc. But then DJI 6, 7, and 8 don't go 6, 7, and 8. I can't remember I'd have to look at a chart to remind myself. Derek Dvorak says, even when you're not on the same channel, it screws your picture up. Yeah, Derek, if you are too close to the DJI goggles, it will screw your video up. So what I did, I was at an event, and there was a mixture of DJI and analog pilots. And basically the DJI pilots stood over here and the analog pilots stood over there. And they were 30 feet or so apart. And the DJI pilots also will interfere with each other. So the DJI pilots need to stand 15 or 20 feet apart. As long as you spread yourself out, though, it's okay. And as long as you're not on the same channel. Techie Ganesh, thanks for 200. I think that's rupees. I'm new to FPV and I'm building a 7-inch quad as my first build. I don't have a transmitter yet. Which transmitter do you suggest? Well, I think the Jumper T16 is one of the best transmitters for the money right now. You need it to be around $100. The T16 is more than $100. I guess the QX7, the FreeSky QX7, for around $100. Pardon me. Kentek Gutski wants to know, is it possible to buddy box from a QX7 to a Futaba radio or the other way around? Buddy box is just a PPM signal in almost all cases. So I think that that buddy box should work, but there may be reasons why it doesn't work. I would give it a try. I think it's possible that it would work between different radios. Brody Port asks, is there a stable 4.1 release for my flight controller? All I see is 406. 4.1 is not out yet, Brody, so there's no stable release of 4.1 for any flight controller yet. Derek Dvorak says, with Zoe FPV around, no one would fly when she was up because of it. Again, the key thing, Derek, and I can't speak to your specific experience with Zoe, but flying with the Rotorite pilots, a lot of us have DJI and a lot of us have analog, so we mix it up quite a lot. The key is that the digital pilots stand some distance away from the analog pilots. Normally, this isn't an issue because with analog goggles, the goggles don't transmit. So with analog goggles, the pilots can all cluster up, and as long as you don't land your quad too close to them, you're okay. The DJI goggles also transmit, and so the goggles can interfere. But as long as you're on a different channel and a sufficient distance away, it should be okay. That's been my experience. Alilak in the Discord wants to know, is it a big deal switching over to Crossfire? Is there quite a bit of difference in terms of range? Yes. There's a huge difference in terms of range of Crossfire compared to 2.4 gig. Pappy, thank you for sharing this. Wait, there's a new version of this, Pappy, that has Wi-Fi on it as well. Pappy is sharing. This is my favorite frequency spectrum chart right now. This was made by one of my patrons, and he shared it with me. And he shared it with me, and I sent it out to a bunch of other people. Just because I think it's so good. There's actually a second version of this he made that has Wi-Fi down here. Wi-Fi channels actually go up to about here-ish and will interfere with video. But this shows how the DJI channels overlap with the raceband channels. And you can see DJI goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 6, 7. So that's why DJI, I don't know. But you can see that DJI channel 8 will overlap with race 6. And remember that DJI goggles always power up on channel 8 and then jump to whatever channel they're actually on. So if you are flying with DJI pilots, never be on race 6 because they're going to be knocking you out every time they power up. Okay. All right, guys. We are coming close to the end of the hour. And I am going to wrap up. Actually, I'm going to wrap up pretty promptly today because I want to get out to the park and fly with some of the local guys if they're still out there. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for showing up for the live stream. Thank you guys who asked questions in the regular chat. Thanks to everybody who gave a super chat, and thanks to my patrons in the Discord. If you're interested in participating on the Discord in a future live stream, you can join my Patreon. Link in the video description. The next live stream will be tomorrow, Monday at 8 p.m. We'll try not to have 2 live streams at once like we did this time. And look forward to more content coming on the channel this week. What's coming up this week? This week, I hope to finish. I don't know if the video will be out, but I've got the iFlight Sedora and the iFlight Nazgul, and I'm going to be doing a head-to-head little review of them. More Betaflight 4.1 content. I've got a Betaflight 4.1 filter tuning video. It's actually edited, and it's almost ready. It'll probably be going up early next week. Trying to find the best filter settings for Betaflight 4.1 with the RPM filters and everything. And I'm working also, the finish of my DJI HD build will be coming out, although the views on that have been surprisingly low. Who knew? DJI customers aren't interested in building their own quad. I guess I could have seen that coming. So my DJI, I'm glad I did a DJI build because people were asking me, when are you going to do one? But now that I've done one, I probably won't do another one because it just isn't getting hardly any views. Look at that. Look how bad this is. Hang on, I'll show you. I'll give you guys a peek behind the curtain. Let's see. My DJI, here's the I think part 1. It will have done the best. This is my analytics for part 1 of my DJI build. Hang on. Look at that. That's not great, is it? I guess it got me plus 21 subscribers. That is pretty good, actually. But look at the views. This is my normal videos, this gray line. And this is the DJI video, this blue line. Ouch. That's not great. Most DJI content just kills. Like, it just kills. This was surprisingly low, so... But I'll be finishing the DJI HD build as well, and then I'm already working on the 3-inch build. Remember that? I mentioned it. Yeah, it's coming. I'll probably finish that, although it probably won't come out this week. So there you go. That's gonna do it, though. I'm gonna get on out of here, get out to the park, and fly. Thank you guys so much. That is gonna do it. See you tomorrow for the live stream, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. What? Oh, Thomas Burt. A bunch of people are asking this. Okay, I'll get this out of the way. Why do the DJI goggles transmit? Because it's a 2-way digital data link. So the number one thing the goggles do is they request retransmission of data. So if a packet is missing, they can request retransmission of the data packets. And instead of seeing dropped frames, that's when the latency goes up, right? And the other thing is that the goggles are controlling the air unit. The goggles are telling the air unit, hey, format the SD card, change your parameters. You control everything from the goggles. So it's a 2-way link. That's why they transmit. Okay. There we go. All right, guys. See you next time. See you. I'm out of here. Happy flying.